Chapter 8. The Mother. Shortly after Sri Bhagavan's mother returned from her unsuccessful attempt to win him back to her in 1900, she lost her eldest son. 2 years later, the youngest son, Nanga Sundaram, still only a lad of 17, went to Tiruvannamalai for the first time to see his Swami brother. So overcome was he that he embraced him and wept aloud. Sri Bhagavan sat silent, unmoved. The mother came once for a brief visit on her return from a pilgrimage to Benares. And then again, some years later, in 1914, she went on a pilgrimage to the Venkatarama Swami shrine at Tirupati, and again stayed at Tiruvannamalai on her way back. This time she fell ill there and suffered severely for several weeks with symptoms of typhoid. Sri Bhagavan tended her with great solicitude. The verses he composed during her sickness are the only instance known of any prayer of his to influence the course of events. In this prayer he said, "O Lord, hill of my refuge, who curest the ills of recurrent birth, it is for thee to cure my mother's fever. O God, who slayeth death, reveal thy feet in the heart lotus of her who bore me to take refuge at thy lotus feet, and shield her from death. What is death, if scrutinized? Arunachala, thou blazing fire of knowledge, enfold my mother in thy light and make her one with thee. What need then for cremation? Arunachala, dispeller of illusion, why dost thou delay to dispel my mother's delirium? Is there any but thee to watch as mother over one who has sought refuge in thee and to rescue from the tyranny of karma?" Ostensibly a prayer for the mother to be saved from her fever, this was in reality a prayer to save her also from the vaster fever of illusion and gather her back into oneness with the self in liberation from the delirium of life. Needless to say, Alagamal, the mother, recovered. She returned to Manamadurai, but after this prayer, circumstances conspired to draw her back from the life of the world to that of the ashram. The family house at Tiruchuzi had been sold to meet debts and pay necessary expenses. Her brother-in-law, Nella Appier, had died, leaving the family in none too easy circumstances. So in 1915, the wife of her youngest son, Nagasundaram, died, leaving a young son who was adopted by his aunt Alamalu, now married. Alagamal began to feel that the only place left for her in her old age was with her Swami son. So in early 1916, she went to Tiruvannamalai. At first, she stayed for a few days with Echamal. Some of the devotees were against her staying with Sri Bhagavan, fearing that he might leave his abode in silent protest as he had left home in 1896. However, there was a great difference, for now it was she who had renounced home, not he who was detained there. The majesty of Sri Bhagavan was so awe-inspiring that despite his gracious manner, when a question like this arose as to what he would wish, none presumed to ask him directly. Even if any did, he might sit unmoved, not replying, for he had no wishes. The wish for the mother's recovery expressed in his verses is something quite exceptional. Soon after his mother came to stay with him, Sri Bhagavan moved from Virupaksha cave to Skanda ashram, a larger cave a little higher up on the hill and directly above Virupaksha. This is a much more spacious cave and was constructed for him to occupy. Finding a damp patch of rock there, he rightly guessed that there must be a concealed spring. This was released by digging and blasting, and yielded a perennial flow of water, enough for all the ashram needs, even for a small garden that was made in front of the cave. The mother began to prepare meals, and so began a new epoch in the ashram life. Wishing to draw her younger son also to the ashram, Alakamal sent a devotee to summon him there. He gave up the job he had at Tiruvagadu and went to live at Tiruvannamalai. At first he stayed in town, taking food at the house of some friend or other, and daily visiting the ashram. Before long he took the vow of renunciation and donned the ochre robe under the name of Nirajananda Swami, although he was more often known familiarly as Chinna Swami, the little Swami, through being the brother of Bhagavan. For a while he still went daily to beg his food in town, but then it seemed incongruous to the devotees that the Swami's own brother should go and beg when there was food for all at the ashram, and he was prevailed upon to settle there. It was almost as though Sri Bhagavan had reverted to family life, the family having extended to embrace all his devotees, and indeed he did something and did sometimes refer to them as his family. It was the apparent incongruity of this that at first deterred both his mother and his brother from coming to live with him. Seshadri Swami once referred to it in his droll manner. A visitor who had stopped to see him wanted to continue up the hill to see Ramana Swami and said, "Yes, go and see. There is a householder up there. You will be given cakes there." The point of Seshadri's joke is that it has been usual to consider the state of a householder lower than that of a sadhu, since a sadhu can devote himself entirely to the quest, whereas a householder has worldly preoccupations to attend to. The very act of renouncing home and property is looked upon as a great step forward. Therefore, many a devotee asked Sri Bhagavan whether he should make the renunciation. Sri Bhagavan always discouraged it. In the case given below, he explained that renunciation is not a withdrawal, but a widening of love. The devotee asked him, "I am inclined to give up my job and remain always with Sri Bhagavan." "Bhagavan is always with you, in you. The self in you is Bhagavan. It is that you should realize. But I feel the urge to give up all attachments and renounce the world as a sannyasin." Renunciation does not mean outward divestment of clothes and so on, or the abandonment of home. True renunciation is the renunciation of desires, passions, and attachments. But single-minded devotion to God may not be possible unless one leaves the world. No, one who truly renounces actually merges in the world and expands his love to embrace the whole world. It would be more correct to describe the attitude of a devotee as universal love than as abandoning home to don the ochre robe. But at home the bonds of affection are too strong. He who renounces when he is not yet ripe for it only creates new bonds. Is not renunciation the supreme means of breaking attachments? It may be so for one whose mind is already free from entanglements, but you have not grasped the deeper import of renunciation. That is, great souls who have abandoned the life of the world have done so not out of aversion to family life, but because of their large-hearted and all-embracing love for all mankind and all creatures. But the family ties will have to go sometime, so why shouldn't I take the initiative and break them now so that my love can be equal to all? When you really feel that equal love for all, when your heart has so expanded as to embrace the whole of creation, you will certainly not feel like giving up this or that. You will simply drop off from secular life as a ripe fruit does from the branch of a tree. You will feel that the whole world is your home.